Hi there. Welcome to your astrological weather. I am so grateful that you have joined our weekly worldwide astrological conversation. Now, if you're new to our channel, a warm welcome to you. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay updated on all of our new content releases each week. And there's a lot of it. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jamie McGee. I'm an astrologer and a host here on the Astrology Hub podcast platform. And today we're going to be talking about the astrological influences for the week of October 9th through the 15th with astrologer Wendy Stacey. Now, Wendy Stacey is the principal of the International Mayo School of Astrology and chair of the Astrological Association. She has written numerous articles for the Astrological Journal and is the author of Consulting with Astrology and Uranus Square Pluto. And she is an upcoming Inner Circle guide this year, which I cannot wait for your month, Wendy. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to connect with you on this podcast. And I can't wait for our inner circle members to be able to connect with you next month because you're teaching a really fun class. Do you want to tell us a little about the mastery class that all the members can get a little?
Yes, definitely. It's on synastry, so relationship astrology. It's looking at the dynamics of compatibility, why we're attracted to some people and why we're not attracted to others. So it's looking at things like commonality, what that means in a relationship when you have things in common, or why we say opposites attract. And so we're looking at that sort of thing, the dynamics and the horoscopes between people, two or three. And it can also be it's not just sort of love relationships, it looks at the family, business, siblings, things like that. And we're also looking at like voids in the horoscope as well. So often when you have things missing, for example, that can be just like an element. So you may have the fire element missing. So often you will be attracted to people with strong fire and things like that. So you're looking at voids in the chart and why we look for people to fill those voids as well, make us feel complete, if you like. So that's what we're going to be looking at, and it will be dynamic. And yeah,
All of you out there, if you are in the inner circle, please mark your calendars, get ready for that. If you're not, our promotional period for the inner circle is going to start pretty soon here. And in that open enrollment promotional period, you can join for 40% off and then lock in that rate. To sign up for the waitlist for that, go to astrologyhub.com/, inner circle waitlist. We'll have that underneath this broadcast. Now, if you can't wait and you would like to go ahead and join now at the full price, you can go ahead and join at astrologyhub.com/, inner circle. And then you can still change the promotional price during the open enrollment if you would like. And we cannot wait for that. All right. So today we're talking about the astrology for October 9th. We're ending this week with a pretty big eclipse. If you had a way to summarize this week, how would you summarize it? What would be your word or your theme for the week ahead?
I would summarize it. It's a week of focus on relationships. There is an intensity with it, but it's a time to resolve, create, start working on, relationships. There's a lot of relationship stuff going on. And a lot of the planets are in Libra this week, but they also rule the planets that are elsewhere in the chart. So there's a lot of Venusian energy. So I would say, work on relationships, also work on money, whatever you do with money, but it's a good time to focus on that. Anything Venusian, really.
Venus vibes all over.
Yeah.
So, which transits are contributing to this theme this week?
Well, there's a lot of uh transits going on. So we've got the stellium in Libra, which is pretty much for the whole week. We start the week on the 9th with the moon Venus and Leo. So they're really the only planets in fire we have at the start of the week. So this is a more of a fiery start to the week before everything goes into earth and more earth and water stuff. So um make the most of that fire. If you've got to do something, get it done. This is a day of a bit more motivated than other days. But again, it's very much about relationships. These Moon and Venus are in Leo, but it's ruled by the Sun, which is in Libra. So along with Mercury and Mars. So it's a great time to do any negotiation, particularly financially, things like that, but also negotiating in relationships as well. You may feel that the issue of compromise is on the table when one doesn't compromise or expecting another to a compromise. So that may be a bit of a, something that needs to be worked out. Now, also, the really other interesting thing for this entire week is not only, of course, you've got the eclipse building, but also uh, from a very what we call Ptolemaic, like the major aspects, that Jupiter and Taurus remains unaspected for the week. So it's going to be a heavy week on finances, but it's also um, it's a great time to, get one's hands dirty, I guess, despite being a Venetian week. But time to, do something craft wise or something like that, particularly as things move into Virgo, the moon and Venus. But it's a good time to take stock, time to take inventory. It's a good time to, clean out things as well, is because also at the start of this week, Pluto is retrograde, but does go direct during the week, which is also quite a big deal, really. So a good time to purge, get rid
It's
of stuff too.
kind of
Yeah.
it's doubling down on that because the eclipse is the south node, like Libra eclipse. So, what would be a good way to like recognize some of those eclipse themes that we have coming up? Like, is any like we'll be looking for codependencies or like any like and like how can we?
What's interesting about this particular eclipse too is, I mean, it's very relationship focused on every level, but it is opposing Chiron in the sky as well. So often there can be a lack of confidence, and that lack of confidence may not be a personal one. It may be a lack of confidence in the relationship. So, and when you've got unaspected Jupiter, it's a bit of a test of faith in terms of one's relationship. So it's about hanging in there. It's about sort of confronting, and with Chiron, it's about confronting things of the old, things of the past. So it's about the lesson, I think, is about moving forward rather than bringing things up, moving forward, dealing with them, confronting them, making things real as well, making things real. Pluto is at a very, very important point right now. So, it's important we uh, honor that by addressing things that are outstanding. And of course, with all this stuff in Libra, it is about relationships. So yeah, going to be very heavy on that.
So, if it surfaces, kind of name it, disempower it.
Yeah, own it, deal with it, take responsibility for it, and move forward. It's also an opportunity to sort of let things go, but not bury them. It's like letting things go, dealing with them, confronting them. Doesn't have to be well, I mean, it can be uncomfortable, but it's like it's just releasing it so one can move forward. Chiron has a tendency to bring forth unresolved issues, but and so there's a confidence thing there with it opposing that eclipse. So it's about moving the relationship forward.
Okay.
And with Pluto and Capricorn too, often this is about commitment and things like that. So these issues are going to be quite heavy for that week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, like if it comes up, you have to face it, but like digging it down in there is when it comes back, it's going to come back with a bigger war. So,
Yeah, of course.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
So yeah, loves it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to know. It's hard to say, like, should I say, if I say something, am I like poking at it? Am I digging it up? Or am I, clearing the air and moving forward? And sometimes it's hard to pick between the two. And I think that that's something that
Yep.
some of us have been working with. And as we get into this new Libra South Node energy, it's going to be more prevalent. And
And of course, with that Libra Aries eclipse opposite Chiron, it is about the balance of that. It
yeah,
is about exactly what you just said. Yeah. About
right.
how much to dredge it, but it's more about just, releasing it. I mean,
Yes.
owning it and releasing it.
Right. Yeah. I like my term is always close the karmic knot. Like sometimes you can't
Yeah.
resolve it someone else, but like because they may not be ready to resolve it, but you can resolve it within. Like you can end it or begin something the way that you would want it to be began or ended with you. So at least, you can feel solid in that. Now the universe could teach you a lesson about that down the road, but yeah, it's an interesting Libra like balance that we're going to be walking
Mm.
this week. Not a little too much of this, a little too much of that, but definitely processing. It's a very dicey week here.
Hey there, it's Amanda here, and I hope you're enjoying this episode. I just wanted to pop in and make sure that you're invited to our free 2024 forecast event. We're going to be gathering with 5 top astrologers that you know and love, and discussing the major transits of the year ahead and how to work with them. Just click the link below to reserve your free spot now. Can't wait to see you there.
So, well, let's talk about today because we kick off this week on Monday. I know you mentioned a little bit of it, but what are we working with right now?
So, so we've got that moon Venus in Leo. So this is, it's the only fire for a while. So it's important to make the most of that. It's a great, use that energy if you need to really achieve something that involves a bit of push and a bit of shove, you make the most of that fire. Again, it emphasizes relationships with the moon and Venus and Leo as well. In terms of relationships, it can bring up issues of who's the boss, things like that. But it's also fun when you get that Libra Leo combination. It's a fun time. It's actually a really good time to go out, even though it's a Monday night. It's school night and all, but it's a great time to go out. It's fun. People are going to be social. And if you're not out, then find different ways to socialize because it's a fun couple of days, and then things get a bit lower and a bit flatter, but still enjoyable, just a different energy. So on the 9th, yeah, we're sort of building to a lot of things. We're building to the new moon, the eclipse. We're building to two planets changing sign, Pluto going direct, things like that.
It kind of like you're like, okay, we're done with this, like that work party, like you celebrate because this season's over, but you're about to get into something new, but you have to live in the moment. And it's always hilarious when the universe doesn't like line up, like it doesn't think the universe doesn't know, hey, we only party on the weekends, but it's like you're gonna have your fun as you start and kind of get a little deeper as the week goes. So yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, don't be afraid
exactly.
to go out. Yeah, go and it's like a great little fun season. We're approaching holidays, so getting into that, wherever you are in the world, your season's definitely changing. So just kind of embracing the end of one and getting ready for a new one and feeling those vibes. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a bit of weather change, and you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel
yeah,
that as well.
yeah,
Like on the 10th, we've still got Moon and Leo, but Venus enters Virgo. You're gonna enter more of a cooler period. It's still okay. It's still fun. It's still a bit upbeat. Still quite positive. That sort of thing. And you've got Venus moved into Virgo, and there's the Venus is starting to create an opposition with Saturn in the sky. So you've got some, Venus Saturn issues, which are often about money or relationships, again, about commitment. I think commitment's going to be a bit of an issue. And like I said, and this is going to be reflected in the news, you're going to see this about, celebrity couples or political couples or things like this. But there's going to be Venus opposite Saturn can be a bit of a dampener, particularly at those early degrees of Virgo and Pisces. And you've still got, of course, the Mercury, Sun, and Mars in Libra as well. So things are still, it's not so eventful necessarily from this state. It's more about dealing with things um, good for monetary matters, really, in terms of, and, again, sorting out finances. A Venus Saturn opposition is great for sorting that out. And it's also great for sorting out relationships as well. I mean, it is a good combination to do that. And Venus really then starts in its journey as it goes into Virgo, as it enters tomorrow the 10th. It starts to build with a trine to Jupiter because Jupiter is unaspected, but soon it will trine Jupiter, which is the first aspect besides the moon that Jupiter makes. So that is really it's quite lovely. It's quite nice. We're going to see that later in the week as it slowly builds up to that.
I look forward to that. Yeah, the Venus Virgo center kind of reminds me of like don't throw rocks at glass houses or that saying of that because because Saturn's on the other side, it will be like an instant, like you say that, like if you speak, be prepared to listen. Like,
Yeah, good advice. Really good advice. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, and then, and Wednesday the 11th, this is when the sun starts its opposition to Chiron. So this is when, it's a little bit of, and also the Venus Saturn opposition. So there's a little bit of self-doubt there. And also perhaps a lack of confidence in things bigger than us. It involves the sun, involves Saturn, so it involves sort of parental figures. So there may be some politics there, like there's a lack of confidence in there, which does have an impact on people as well. The political is personal, and so and then on to this on Wednesday the 11th, the moon comes to meet Venus. So we have a moon Venus conjunction in Virgo, which I think is a beautiful conjunction. It's in Virgo, which is a sign of the Virgin Maiden, and with moon Venus there, it's very much a woman uh, placement, I think. So there's a lot of sort of that feminine uh, goddess energy, if you like. It's a nice time to do some work, start a project, do some research if you want to. It's a time where you can really make your mind and your body quite, to get them moving. Virgo is really the only sign that's both mental and physical. So when you've got the moon Venus there, it's an encourager. It encourages one to do that. Whatever that is, doing a project around the house or in your room or whatever it is, or work or studying or anything. It's sort of a good time to plan. It's a really good time to plan. So, get the project started by putting things out there, doing diagram, things like that. Also a really good time to get small jobs done, things that have been building up. Moon, Venus, and Virgo just manages to get them done quicker, easier, than certainly when the Moon and Venus are in Leo, for example. Um, so Moon, Venus, in Virgo, opposite Saturn, can feel a bit flatter, but it's just more about it's a quieter time. It is quieter. It may be tough for those who have planets around the early mutable signs. So anyone with the sun around the 23rd, 24th of August, November, March, and May, the sun will pick that opposition up. So it will affect you quite personally if you're born within those dates. And if you have other planets at that early mutable degrees. But it is about sort of laying low and just chilling out, actually. Really, that's what these transits are too. And of course, Pluto goes direct today, so it makes its next journey as it moves towards Aquarius, as it goes back and forth till November next year. So that will have a big influence too on the entire globe when it goes direct, mostly probably to do with things like politics, economic issues, and things like that. But the good thing is the moon Venus is in Virgo, which sort of indicates there's a plan at hand, and the moon is starting to trine to Jupiter, and Venus is building to that as well.
I like that. So even though it's down, we kind of feel the deceleration. There's a plan at hand that we
Mm.
can work with. That's good advice there. Okay,
Great
so
words. Decelerate, yeah, deceleration, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Thursday the 12th, moon still in Virgo. It opposes Neptune. In this point, it's making its way to Libra, but it's in the middle of Virgo. During Thursday. Oh, opposite Neptune. So, things again, chill. It's important when these planets are, making aspects and mutable signs to go with the flow, ride the waves, don't, go against the flow of things. It's a really lovely time to do something creative. I mean, Moon Neptune opposition, it's especially immutable is a sort of recipe for Netflix marathoning. It's about taking oneself out of things. It's a very inspiring time, I think. And if you're not inspired, find something to inspire you, turn on some music or, put your feet on the grass or look at some paintings or whatever you do to be inspired. It's a really lovely day to do that, especially with all these planets in Libra, which rules the arts as well. So, Mars is right at that last bit of Libra. It's really at their end. So it makes that even more inclined to want to delve into anything arty or creative. So yeah, definitely. And then moving on to Friday the 13th. So the moon enters Libra today, making its way to Mercury and the Sun. So building to that eclipse, which is, it will oppose Chiron first. And it is 2 degrees of orb, so the sun has moved on a little bit, but there'll still be some residue of that Chiron eclipse opposition. Yeah, it's like, I guess it's pat yourself on the back. Don't feel like your confidence has to be compromised at all. So, that's quite lovely. And also what happens on Friday, which is a really interesting day as well, is Mars moves into Scorpio. So on the day of the eclipse, Mars enters Scorpio, which, it's very, very comfortable in. And, when Mars enters Scorpio, things get a bit sexier. So you're going to see that. I mean, you're going to see different things come out in the news, on TV or on the radio, whatever. You're going to see some, something of passion. And this is a great time to do, find your passion, make it work for you. It's also trying to Saturn, so it's really good for disciplining as well. Mars, Saturn in general feel like driving 100 miles with the brakes on, but when they're in trine and in water, it's a bit more fluid, and it's a bit easier. So it is about finding your pace and enjoying that, finding that passion and enjoying it.
Something on your face. So Mars goes into Scorpio like right in the middle of the week, as we'll be feeling that as we go into the eclipse energy. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna feel that last bit of Libra when Mars, when Mars is at those last degrees of a sign, you can really feel it. So in Libra, that day you're gonna have a lot of relationship stuff and going on, in the greater society, which we will all be feeling as well. So there's and it's an interesting energy. It's about resolution, I think. Uh, and so, and as it moves into Scorpio, it becomes less compromising, but it does become passionate and it does become, sexy, if you like. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. And so there's a resolution, and, even if it's non compromisable, just that kind of leads back to like leaning on your boundaries, like what you
Yeah.
have, like I've hit my straw. This is where it's at. And like, I can love you from a distance if I need to, or it could also speak to deeper commitments. Like we're not gonna date and kind of dance around this. We're gonna put a title on it, and we're gonna it's
Yeah.
all or none kind of thing. Like like with
Yes.
commitment. So
Yeah, that's a great description. Coming out of Libra, it can be quite, back and forth and back and forth. And as it goes into Scorpio, it arrives, it lands, and and it's like, well, this is what we need now. And yeah, it's great. And it's really comfortable there. So, um, yeah, yeah.
yeah, all right. So now we're getting close to the day, the eclipse.
Yeah, Saturday we have the eclipse. So the moon goes past Mercury, and then it joins the sun. This is when we're going to have the eclipse at 20 degrees of Libra. And it actually, I mean, I know I talk about major aspects, but it sort of does form a yod with Uranus and Neptune as well. So and so the eclipse has a quincunx to Neptune and as well as to Uranus. So there's going to be some really interesting things going on in the larger scheme of things that we're all sort of going to be pulled into in a way. So there's going to be a lot of focus on that during that week, and this day it's going to culminate. And so when you get an eclipse like this as well, especially in Libra, there's a real building to it. And so, I always think it's not the best to, sometimes it's best to wait till after that moon has passed the sun, because there is an intensity. And with Mars and Scorpio as well, it just very fresh into that sign by one day, it can feel like a little bit of a pressure cooker. So it's often it's a good idea to just wait until things have deflated a little bit past that eclipse. So even though you're resolving things, in the meantime, it's more about the planning of that, I think. And then after that eclipse, it's time to make the real decisions that need to be made and can be, particularly while Mars is now in Scorpio and Venus is in Virgo. So and the sextile really. So it's quite it appears that it's not a solid time, but it actually is. It's like it's a very formative and, quite a creative time. Even things like social policy in terms of relationships. This is a very good day and transit for this day, and even for the surrounding transits of the week, to actually make policy uh, on that.
It's an interesting energy because it's gonna, like, provoke you to feel reactive, but that's probably where you'll have your missteps. And so, like, listening, like, reading past the headlines, reading past the little, TikTok blurbs or whatever, and kinda going deep and getting different data points would help you understand how your reaction or your response to this can be in a more, um it would have more opportunity to grow and have an impact on the social policy if you really, like, know all sides of it, because then that way you'll be able to dig in a little bit deeper, and I can definitely see how this could be a global political issue and how that could almost, seep down into the family and the relationship dynamics where, one person's, media is telling them one thing and one person's media is telling them another thing, and then just not knowing where it is in the middle, and then taking reaction on that first, like, emotional energy that comes up. And, maybe, like, I love how you're saying, like, go with the flow, let everything land. Be very curious about, well, what provoked this? How did we get to here? How do we resolve this in a different way? But it's so funny that you mentioned Johnny because I was just watching that. Like, they have that now on. Yeah, I was like, and I didn't follow it to begin with because I don't really follow social media for certain reasons, but I was like, "Man, I could see why this was such a draw." It
Yeah,
was
and I think there's going to be more of that, and I think, in Miami, I don't know if you've followed the things like what happened with the Spanish football team and things like that. But it was very much about, and this particular week, all this Libra, very Venusian, it's about women. There's some really strong women stuff. So I think there's going to be quite a push, particularly with that Mars going into Scorpio, the Venus Saturn opposition, but then it joins with the moon and things. And so I think it's going to be a real interesting week for empowering women in some way. So there's a lot of things like that. So unfortunately, women, it has to, something happens. There's usually an event that triggers these sort of things, and so it's a bit like, something where women stand up, um, and because there's a bit of a battle here too. It starts with the weekend with the Moon, Venus, and Leo. And then you've got the Mars going into Scorpio and all that sort of thing. But there's a bit of a pushback with the Venus Saturn opposition. So it feels like there's a real sort of strength found in women this week to do something. And I'm not sure what that is. But it's sort of where women are called to think quite deeply about things.
it'll be fascinating. And the good thing is, all of you that are listening, you follow astrology, so you're aware of the energy. If someone, like, looks at you and says, "Hey, what's going on?" You're gonna be able to say, "All right, like, let's just watch, let's be curious." And then find our purpose and find our cause. That doesn't mean, like, be quiet when you have something that needs to be said. If you have a social policy, a cause, something that you want to stand up for, clarity in that event, um, we're definitely not saying shh. We're saying, like, like, get into that Mars Scorpio, get very strategic and
Mm.
dig in and find an action plan that they're never going to see coming, but they will never forget. Like, that would be a good motive to to work with this energy. But
Yeah,
it's gonna be a wild one.
yeah, and exactly, and it's a really quite a special energy too, I think. And the week ends on the Sunday the 15th with Venus, building to a trine in Jupiter. But if anyone has, planets around the sort of mid-Earth signs, so if you're born it would be from the 28th of August to the 7th of September, or the
Okay.
28th of December to the 7th of January, or the 28th of April to the 7th of May, you're built into that trine to an unexpected Jupiter. So it's quite lucky. It's a bit of a golden horseshoe with, so Jupiter, and it's sort of color. It's a very solid position where Jupiter is in Taurus. It's very comfortable there. Um, and so there's sort of a silver lining, I think, to this particular week. So the more you put plans in place, the more things you confront and deal with, particularly in relationships and finances, you can tap into that Jupiter and Taurus as well and sort of really put things in motion. It's a very special time. It's a time you'd look back and think, we made that plan that week. It will be quite a memorable week in that regard with that unaspected Jupiter, because it will land things. And things are usually, it's a very fortunate position. So
Okay. And even if you don't have like any, your son's not there, this is somewhere in your chart. So there's a certain part of your life that will kind of have that tendency too. So I love that you kind of gave that insight of like where to look. Cause it's always good to take the big, huge energy and dial it down into your chart and say, that this is going to ping a little bit deeper for you. So, and so it's good to know when you have a bigger opportunity to work with too. So,
yeah, yeah,
that-
it's a really lovely week, actually. It's a really interesting dynamic week. Lots of things changing with Mars and Pluto and Venus and things like that. So quite eventful.
I love everything that you said. Is there anything that you would like to like add in to I'll do my very best to summarize your brilliance here in just a second, but is there anything else, any other notes on any of the days or the energy flow that you want to mention?
I just think with the energy flow, it's like it's something. Don't push it. Don't fight it in some way. It's about negotiating. It's about mediating. It's about compromising on all sides. It's something like just pick up and call someone if you need to. Don't wait for things. It's actually a really easy week to sort things out. So I would just say make the most of it. Don't be fixed about things. Just move with it and do what you think is right, because there's some good transits out there to work with.
All right, I love that. Okay, so this week we one of the themes that we have is really go with the flow. It's a very Venusian week that we're working with. So Venusian things would be money and relationships, things that make us feel like in our body, things that we love. And those could be some tricky things. We want to, go with the flow as we work with this energy. If something comes up, we want to name it, disempower it so we can process it and move on to something different. We don't want to bury anything because it'll come back twice as hard, but we have a lot of opportunity to work with both sides of this coin in a very Libra way as we go into this week. Monday is going to be a good day to go out, even though it's a Monday, it's a school night. Kind of go out, celebrate a season change or something. We'll kind of feel that vibration into Tuesday. Wednesday, the temperament changes a little bit. We're going to get a little bit more grounded, a little bit more maybe spending some time alone. We have a lot of opportunity to be creative, to process some things like, what do we want to end? What do we want to begin? Why do we want to do this? What would be healthy for us in this process? And then as we get to the weekend, we get closer to that eclipse energy. So anything that's, codependent, unhealthily balanced, we're going to see like some situations kind of adjust there. We could see a lot of things come up in the news, like especially around relationships, celebrity relationships, or even policy, or even politics in some regard. And with this, we do want to be observant and let it land. Again, go with the flow, do your research, understand how you feel, and then get really stealthy if that Mars Scorpio and respond or react the way that you need to. And you can, then on the other side of this, we're going to be really looking at, we're going to move from that Libra energy of it could be both trying to balance it to like, we are this, to that commitment, and you're going forward towards a different direction. And you highlighted some great times or great ways to use this energy because we are, even though we kind of go in this really light and we come in deep and we're trying to resolve things, we do have a lot of opportunistic energy to look forward to as Jupiter starts to make his trine in a couple of days. So is that how you did I
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think you're very insightful, and I love your recap. Yeah, it's fabulous, brilliant.
Okay. Well, it has been a pleasure to be here with you, Miss Wendy, and I cannot wait again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, for your Inner Circle month. That is coming up in October. And if you guys are in the Inner Circle, please be sure to mark your calendar. It's going to be a great teaching, a great new moon and full moon forecast. And Wendy talked about her amazing master class that she's going to be teaching about synastry, which is some great insights about how you can work with yourself and all of those in your life, not just your romantic partners. If you would like to go ahead and sign up for the wait list when we open up very soon for our promotional open up where you get 45% off and lock in that price forever, you can get on the wait list for that at astrologyhub.com/inner circle wait list. If you're ready to dive in now, you just want to go ahead and join the community and get, all ready and settled up for all the forecast that we have coming up, you can go ahead and sign up now at astrologyhub.com/inner circle. Now, every link that you need is below this forecast. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer them for you too. But again, Wendy, thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And I want to thank all of you for tuning into this episode, for being a part of this community, and as always, for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode.
As you know, I talk to a lot of astrologers, and they all seem to be saying something similar, that we are in the midst of big collective changes with Pluto moving in and out of Aquarius. Deep and radical transformation, new technologies emerging that bring with them both opportunities and challenges, and the continued breakdown of our old systems and structures. There's clearly a lot going on, which is why I am so excited to invite you to our 8th annual 2024 Forecast Panel event on October 12th. We'll have expert astrologers Christopher Renstrom, Rachel Lang, Mark Borax, Sheridan Semple, and Clarissa Dolphin. They're going to be talking about the biggest astrological events of 2024, including, but not limited to, Jupiter conjunct Uranus, Jupiter moving into Gemini, and of course, the big total solar eclipse in Aries. If you're a student of astrology and you've gone to one of these events in the past, you know these forecast panel events help you, number one, get ready for big changes. Number two, seize the opportunities within the changing landscape. Number three, learn and grow with our vibrant community. And number four, a Capricorn's favorite, prepare. To get ready for 2024, click the link below or go to astrologyhub.com/2024 and join us. It's free, and we'd love to see you there on October 12th. Even if you can't join us live, make sure that you register so we know to send you the limited time replay. Can't wait to see you there.